Earlier this week, we looked at my top 100 coasters, numbers 100 to 51. Those are in the top 16% of all my coasters. That's nice, but we can do better. I've ridden 635 coasters, and today I want to talk about the top 8%, the best of the best, and for the 6th straight year, let's run it back. As of the end of 2023, these are my top 50 coasters. As always, let's see the breakdown of my top 50. First, by manufacturer, and B&M was king on my last list. Now, RMC is the top dog, making up about one of every 4 coasters on here. No surprise, B&M and Intamin aren't too far behind. GCI and Gravity Group adding some wooden coasters in the mix. Next, where are all these coasters? Florida had the most coasters in my top 100, but Ohio dominates my top 50. Florida has to settle for second with California, but check out one of the places that has 3. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and yes, Sweden. Turns out, there are some good coasters across the pond. Who knew? When did these coasters open? The last video was topped by coasters from the Coaster Wars from 1999 to 2000. But when it comes to the best of the best, I'm looking more modern. 2015 and 2016 top the list. Of my top 50, 12 coasters are made of wood and 38 have a steel track. Also, for my top 100, just less than half didn't have inversions. Now, that's been flipped to just over half. And just like last time, for all those inversions, those with 3 lead this pack. Just a couple notes. I mentioned this in my last video, but I'll say it again. I didn't just use my old list and move things around. This year, I tore the whole thing down and rebuilt it, so there's a lot more movement than normal, especially towards the bottom of this list. Also, in the top right corner, I'll put where these coasters ranked last year so you can see how much they changed. Let's get this going. Leading off, a pair of GCIs. Number 50, Gold Striker at California's Great America. We don't know how long this has before his park shuts down, so if you can get the CGA, do it soon. Gold Striker is a great custom GCI, out of control and with some good pops of air. Number 49, Renegade at Valleyfair. This is very comparable to Gold Striker, such a wild ride, but this one is quite a bit rougher. That being said, the airtime is a lot better, so it gets a higher spot. Let's go north of the border for the first of 11 B&Ms. Number 48, Behemoth at Canada's Wonderland. I got back on this for the first time in 5 years. I got a couple rides, and after being disappointed in the morning, it was much more aggressive later in the day. It's an out and back airtime machine with a pretty decent finale. Back to the States, a couple of elite woodies. Number 47, Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City. It's short, but it's fast and furious. I got one ride this year, at night. It was crazy as always, and I was surprised this year it wasn't as rough as normal. Definitely the smoothest ride I've ever had on it. Number 46, Hades 360 at Mount Olympus. Speaking of smooth, Hades is not. It should be so much higher on this list because of that amazing layout, but it just hurts so bad. I don't care how rough it gets, it deserves a top 50 spot. Now, a couple Buckeye B&Ms. Number 45, Raptor at Cedar Point. I don't know how, but this just keeps getting better with age. It ran crazy smooth this year, and it was as intense as ever. Absolute top tier B&M invert. Number 44, Orion at Kings Island. I think the shine wore off this Giga after its opening year. I enjoyed my first few rides, but the more I ride it, the more I think B&M could have done better, even without making it longer. I'm gonna give it another shot next year. Orion's drop stands at 300 feet. These next 3 coasters are less than half that. Number 43, Steel Eel at SeaWorld San Antonio. As disappointing as most Morgan Hypers are, they nailed this mini hyper. I didn't ride it this year, but I got 2 rides last year and it was so insanely good. That airtime is addicting. Number 42, Maverick at Cedar Point. I got back on it over the summer, and it was solid as always. Nothing mind-blowing, but a good mix of forces over a long track. It's one of the best coasters if you want to experience the best array of elements. Number 41, Joker at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. It's definitely one of RMC's weaker hybrids, but it's not bad by any means. It has a solid layout full of hang time and quick airtime pops. Watch out, these coasters are falling fast. All of these were knocking on the door of my top 10 just a few years ago. Number 40, Millennium Force at Cedar Point. I had to drop this once again. That's 2 bad rides over my last 3 visits. I don't think the layout is good enough to sustain a slow ride. It needs to fly to be exciting. This year, it wasn't fast and it rattled around a lot. Maybe those things are related, but for now, I can't put it any higher. Number 39, Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure. I've always been a big defender of Nitro. I think the layout is very solid, but my ride in 2021 was very weak. I'll get back this year for the park's 50th anniversary, and we'll see if it can rise back up. Number 38, Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. This is one of RMC's shorter layouts, but it's very aggressive. Amazing drop, great inversions, world-class dive off the cliff. On its own, it's spectacular. Compared to other RMCs, it doesn't stack up. Let's do back-to-back-to-back Woodies. Number 37, Zippin' Pippin at Bay Beach. I'll never forget the first time I got to experience the ejector death hill. I wasn't expecting it, and even though I've ridden it 5 more times since, I still can't get over it. It's so powerful, it can't be good for the train or the track. It's not just a one-trick pony either. This has great flow to airtime throughout the whole ride. Number 36, Vulture at Leesburg. One of my new additions, Vulture was amazing, but not without its flaws. It can run slow, it can be repetitive, but that airtime is real, and it's an absolute riot. Number 35, Phoenix at Knoebels. Speaking of airtime, Phoenix is an old relocated Woody. It runs like it's brand new, and with those buzz bars, you get to fly out of your seat the whole ride. The strongest moments being the double down and the finale. Now, 2 very different B&Ms. Number 34, Montu at Busch Gardens, Tampa. 5 years after riding Montu, this is still my favorite B&M looper. It's got an awesome layout, a lot of it being below ground level, and it brings all that classic B&M intensity. Number 33, Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland. I got to enjoy this for the first time in 5 years. We got to make it Sophie's 200th coaster, and it solidified itself as my favorite coaster in the whole country. It could stand to be longer, but it does a great job mixing speed elements with airtime. Number 32, Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom. This is how you make a small-scale coaster work. You only have 100 feet to work with, but you make those elements pop. This has strong airtime, and this shot up my list after my rides in 2020. Number 31, Wildfire at Kilmartin. This is also a newcomer, my first international RMC, and this is a lot lower than I thought it would be. I guaranteed it would be a top 50 coaster, but I was thinking it could be top 10. After the first half, I thought it would be. Then the second half came and the ride slowed down way too much. If it kept its speed better, this would be way higher, but it has to settle for 31. Number 30, Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood. This does not have a problem with slowing down. Its main problem is length. It's a fast and furious ride that ends too soon. It's silky smooth, tops out at 85 miles an hour, and launches you out of your seat in the second half. Let's launch into our next 3 coasters. Number 29, TMNT Shellraiser at Nickelodeon Universe. This Gerstlauer has one of the most unique layouts ever, starting with a dip and slow roll, then a powerful LSM launch, huge inversions, then it stops and goes up a vertical lift, falling into the world's steepest drop, and then more giant inversions. I've been a big fan since it opened, and I hope to get back on it this year. Number 28, Helix at Leesburg. After spending more than a week in Europe, this was my favorite coaster from the trip. That layout is so dynamic. 2 launches, ejector airtime, hang time, intense inversions, terrain layout on the hillside. Helix is a masterpiece. Number 27, Pantheon at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. Everything about Pantheon just works. From those great lap bars, the hang time filled inversion, multi-pass launch, strong airtime moments of all varieties. Maybe it could have used a couple more second half elements, but that's it. Let's talk about 2 of 2016's finest. Number 26, Monster at Adventureland. The more I ride it, the more I appreciate it. Super smooth, unique forces, whip, hang time, intensity, ejector airtime, all on a compact plot of land wrapping around itself. Number 25, Mako at SeaWorld Orlando. This has dropped some. It used to be right outside my top 10, now it's barely top 25. It's very comparable to Candemonium, but I think this one still runs better. It's the star of the park. Number 24, Wildcat's Revenge at Hershey Park. New for 2023, RMC did a great job turning the old GCI Wildcat into a hybrid. I got 4 rides, and like Wildfire, I thought the first half was elite, but the second half wasn't. Instead of a speed problem, I just didn't think the elements were that good. It's by no means bad, just a letdown after the first half wows you. Number 23, Cannibal at Lagoon. If you haven't been to Lagoon, Cannibal makes it worth it. This has to be on everyone's bucket list. From that elevator lift, to that 116-degree drop over 200 feet, ending with a mess of wacky inversions. Number 22, Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City. If you love spinning coasters but wish they were more intense, Mock Rides has your solution, the Extreme Spinner. Ride it in the back row for the best experience, especially over that drop out of the station. It's not super intense, but it's just pure fun. Number 21, Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket at Universal Orlando. I loved it when I rode it a bunch of times in 2012. Then I got back on it in 2021 for one ride, and it was one of the best rides I've ever gotten on any coaster. I don't know when I'm going back to Universal Orlando, but I'm almost afraid to ruin my last impression of it. Number 20, Storm Chaser at Kentucky Kingdom. This proves even the small RMCs can rise to the elite level. You just gotta have the right elements. If you love powerful ejector airtime, this is the one for you. Number 19, Mystic Timbers at Kings Island. GCI's best coaster in the US. Probably not the world, but as far as I'm concerned, this is their best and it's not close. It runs smooth, it combines chaos with airtime, even with its out and back layout. Here's a trifecta of Six Flags coasters. Number 18, Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia. I missed riding it this year, unfortunately. The line was long on the first day, so I saved it for day 2, and it was closed all day. Oh well, I've ridden this a bunch over the last 5 years, and I think it's one of B&M's best hypers. It combines a great layout with great airtime, plus some good intensity. Number 17, X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain. I still think this is the most unique coaster experience in America, and it's hard to believe it exists. Riding on top of and under the track, forward and backward, seats rotating the whole time, and that face down drop is just the best. Number 16, Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. We've talked about good layouts in this video, but no coaster I've ridden has a better layout than this. It's an intimate hyper, airtime from the start, twister in the middle, airtime at the end. It just needs better lap bars. Number 15, Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion. I had to raise it up my list after 2022. It has such a simple layout, but they just jammed as much airtime as possible and it just works. Toss in the occasional inversion to make people happy. Number 14, Raging Bull at Six Flags Great America. Whenever I go to Great America, including this summer, this is the one I always come back to. I got to share this one with Sophie this year, and it was running as good as ever. Interesting layout, great airtime, and that first drop in the back row is an all-timer. Now it's Cedar Fair's turn. Here's 3 of their best. Number 13, Magnum XL200 at Cedar Point. When I came off this year, I said it might be the best coaster in the world. I was half joking, it's not even in my top 10, but when it comes to fun factor, it's up there. You get such great airtime even before the finale. By the way, that's the best finale ever, and the aero jankiness adds to the ride. Number 12, Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm. One of the best wooden coaster layouts ever. This has an L shape, runs through its own structure for the second lap, and like any good wooden coaster, combines chaos with airtime, ending with a lateral filled helix. Number 11, Diamondback at Kings Island. The B&M hyper that stands above the rest, going out in the trees, and when you're in the back, it drags you over every hill and you're out of your seat for a long time. My rides in 2022 solidified it as the best ride at Kings Island. Let's start the top 10 with back-to-back-to-back RMCs. Number 10, Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. My most ridden coaster, though I didn't get to ride it even once in 2023. I should be back soon to get my laps in. Both sides are great, I'm Team Blue, and every element delivers on this sometimes dueling RMC. Number 9, Lightning Rod at Dollywood. We'll see how this changes next year. I plan on getting back and riding it with a new chain lift, but as of 2022, it was running close to top form. It'll never regain its 2016 self, but with the steel track, it's got a good future. Number 8, Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens Tampa. Once this warms up, it's one of the best coasters in the world. RMC doesn't usually try and rip your head off, but this one is an exception. It's absolute pandemonium from the first drop to final brakes. Just remember, ride it later in the day. Iron Gwazi's great, but it's not the best coaster in Florida. Number 7, Velocicoaster at Islands of Adventure. This absolutely exceeded my expectations when I rode it on opening day. Having 2 distinct sections, separated by the 2 launches. Amazing elements giving airtime and hang time. The Mosasaurus roll at the end. Good theming, great lap bars. It's the full package. Number 6, Voyage at Holiday World. Once again, world-class layout, this set in the woods. The ride seems to defy the laws of physics. It's so long, it's so wild, it's got decent airtime, and when it's running smooth, there's not many better coasters out there. Number 5, Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England. This might be my most overrated coaster. Every time I go to the park, I think I'm gonna drop it, but I never do. It delivers every time, being small scale, but still being a long and powerful ride, full of airtime, hang time, and whip. Number 4, El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure. It's been 4 years since I rode this. It's been through so much since then. It was close for me in my 2021 trip, but I'm getting back next year and this is top priority. I'm kinda nervous. People say it's rough and bad now, but I don't care. I'm gonna ride it for those 4 ultra elite airtime moments. Now, the highest first time coaster on the list since 2018. Number 3, Air Force One at Fun Spot Atlanta. Riding this over and over the one day I spent at Fun Spot, it just kept rising in my ranks. On top of being full of top tier elements, and carrying so much speed all the way to the end, you don't have to worry about assigned seating or stapling. The ride's usually a walk-on, so you just get to enjoy the ride for what it is, drama-free, and that for sure helps its ranking. My number 2 coaster had a crack at the top spot, but couldn't quite cut it. Number 2, Fury 325 at Carowinds. This was one of the rare years I didn't get the Carowinds, but I've ridden this so many times since 2018, and its layout is just about perfect. It's everything a Giga should be. Long, focusing on speed, and throwing in some airtime. It's B&M's magnum opus. And now, the reigning champ 6 years running. Number 1, Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. 2 more rides in 2023, and there's nothing about it that makes me want to dump it as number 1. I got Sophie on it this year, and it's on top of her list also. How they're able to get all that track in, 3 laps around the course, having it keep its speed, I don't know. Some people call it repetitive, but I think they did a good job mixing up the elements. When it's over a mile long, you can only mix it up so much. Air Force One took a swing at the king this year, but it missed. I'm still looking for a ride that combines that quality with that quantity, and it doesn't exist except for Steel Vengeance. That's a wrap on my top 50. Let me know what you think of the list, what you agree with, and what seems crazy. And if you want to see numbers 51 to 100, click my end screen or my links below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. And if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. Also, check out my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you also happen to love baseball. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.